Mr. Blix, thank you very much for joining PressTV's Face to Face.
Pleasure.
As a former head of the International Atomic Energy Agency and the United Nations Chief Weapons Inspector, do you personally think that Iran is seeking nuclear weapons?
I hear what your leader says, that it's against his Islamic religion, and I hear the political people saying that it would not be in your military or international political interest to have them. But I think the task before us is to create a situation in which the outside world does not suspect that there is a weapon or any weapons in tension. And I think that's what the current negotiations are about, to create that confidence. But it's a very tough negotiation because there are lots of suspicions on both sides. On the Iranian side, there are suspicions ever from 1953, when the outside world instigated and engineered a revolution and threw out Mr. Mossadegh from the government. There are suspicions on the Iranian side which are very understandable, and it takes a lot of effort to overcome that.
Since November 2013, when Iran and the P5+1 reached a deal in Geneva for Iran to reduce the concerns and for the other side to lift the sanctions that have been imposed on the Iranian nation for many years now. The Western side has come up with this argument that Iran has been very much cooperative, and Iran is really working hard to reduce all the suspicions. So how can it be over the past just several months everything has changed? Is it the political atmosphere that has changed, or no, Iran was really doing something and now it is learned that it has to stop doing it?
There is a new atmosphere, there's no question about that, after the change of government in Iran. And I think the two governments, the US on the one side and the Iranian on the government, and there are many others around them, of course, but they are, I think, trying sincerely and seriously to come to an agreement. The November agreement was not the final one. It was really to create time, 6 months, for the time of negotiations. But it also gave a great deal of direction. And I think the most important part of it was the understanding that Iran will have a nuclear program that fulfills the needs for nuclear power, for nuclear medicine, what have you, but is not aimed at and constructed, designed to serve to become a weapon. So Iran during this period has stayed away from enrichment over 5%. And they have also reduced the quantities which they have available of 20% enriched uranium. And that allays the fears that they will be creating quantities of 80 or 90%.
A country that is trying to make nuclear weapons would not do that, would it?
No, you have inspection of this. I mean, the other side may not trust you, but you have inspection. The IAEA inspectors are there. They are in Natanz and they are in Fordo, and they go to other places. They see uranium mines, etc. And all that openness is very important for everybody.
Has there been any hard evidence over the years showing that Iran is making a nuclear weapon?
I think the IAEA has consistently said that they have seen no diversion of any nuclear material. At the same time, they are saying that we have information that they are doing this and that we are not able to give proof or testify that nothing is happening. Now, that is true in many places. Iran is a big country. There are many mountains. There are many places. Inspectors go to some places. They may have intelligence about one place or another. But to say that there is nothing in a big country is going very far.
But it could be true for any country on planet Earth. You know, countries are big, mountains everywhere. So we can't suspect that a country is doing something wrong and just impose sanctions on that country's people for many years and make them suffer for no good reason.
No, I think that the inspection helps. I mean, in the case of Iraq, where I was active, we carried about 700 inspections in Iraq in 500 different sites, and we didn't find anything. And we went to sites with the suspected by intelligence from other countries, and we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction there. We found other weapons, but not weapons of mass destruction. And of course, that evidence that you have been there, you've done professional inspections, you didn't find anything, that suggests should suggest to the political leaders in the government that there is nothing. But for inspectors to say there is nothing, when there are big mountains and there are lots of places, no, that is going too far. That's not the role of inspectors.
But you appear to be true, and you found out that there is no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Your findings were ignored by the United States and by Britain, and they invaded Iraq. So how important those findings are, the IAEA, the inspectors, the inspections, their findings and the results of their investigations, if there is a political will to put pressure on a country?
No, they can be violated, they can be ignored, and our reports were ignored by the US. They claimed they had reports of their own, but we now know that they were often based upon testimony by defectors who were wrong. And I think the US regretted it. You see, a government uses lots of information, and the inspectors, international inspectors, they are the servants of the Security Council or of the world community, and they report. And they are professional, and they see everything on the ground, and that is fine. They have means of environmental sampling, and they have underground radar and whatnot. The government has satellites, they have spies, they listen to the communications and overhear telephone calls, etc. So the government receives all that. And I don't mind that they use their intelligence, then that's fine. But they should, I think, compare the two. And if they are going the same direction, one thing, but if they are not, then the government should be careful and say, now what is right? And they did not do that. They wanted to believe that there were weapons of mass destruction because they had many motivations why they wanted to intervene, and they did throw out Saddam Hussein. They killed him. He eventually caught him. And Iraq got rid of a terrible dictator. I think that was the only benefit, actually, of the war in Iraq. All the rest was lost, really. They claimed that there were Al-Qaeda people in Iraq. There weren't any Al-Qaeda people. They came when the invasion was there. They said that to set up a model democracy, and what was created was anarchy. They said they should help Israel, and they didn't really help Israel. So it was a miserable failure, and I think that's recognized around the world. And it was based then upon the error of the governments not to examine the facts. I mean, politics must be based upon some facts there. You have ideology, you want to do something, but you must have facts at the basis of it.
The Iraq invasion, you said to the whole world that we couldn't find weapons of mass destruction. You never said there was nothing.
No.
You said we couldn't find anything.
After very thorough investigations, we said we cannot find anything.
And at that time, I remember, there was a lot of media frenzy, a lot of media hype against you.
Yeah.
They were trying to discredit you because you said something that the United States did not like to hear.
Well, that's correct, but my relations with the United States government were not bad. It was media that actually tore us apart. And I was not an employee of the US government. I was an employee of the Security Council. I was responsible, and I had no problems with the Security Council. We had correct relations also with the United States in the Security Council.
Do you think the US government spied on you?
Spying on me, yes. I'm pretty sure of that. I wasn't sure at the time, but since then, my comment to that, I've been asked the question, how do you like to be spied upon? And I said, I wish to heaven that they listen more carefully to what I had to say.
So you believe that the US government spied on you?
I think they did. They spied on me and on El Baradei. I think they spied on many others. And we know recently that they've also had spying on political leaders in the Western world. So that's probably part of the game.
So they might be spying on Mr. Amano right now too, huh?
Yeah, possibly. That's quite possible. But I have no secrets. I mean, it doesn't matter to me very much if they listen to my telephone conversations.
How much of an influence the US has on the IAEA?
Well, every big power has some influence on it. They can come to the Director General and they say these are things that we find and we are suspicious and we should do this or that. And so the Russians also have a lot of influence, Chinese too. Everybody has some influence, but clearly the big powers have more influence than the small powers.
Did they ever come to you?
Did they ever come to me? And yeah, they came to me many times.
Asking you, Mr. Blix, do this, do that?
No, not in that form, not really, and it wouldn't have worked actually either. In the New York, they never saw press.
It didn't work with you, but it might have worked with others.
Yeah, but I think I don't know everybody who's operative, but I think that the world needs an international civil service that serves the world and not any particular government.
Do you think Israel has nuclear weapons?
Oh, everybody knows that they have. I
So-
don't only think, I'm convinced.
Why is it that nobody's doing anything about it?
Well, I don't think the United States was very enthusiastic when it was revealed that they had. And I don't think they are still enthusiastic about it. You have resolutions in the UN, United Nations, which urges all states that are not parties to the Non-Proliferation Treaty to join. And Israel is among them, and the United States votes for the resolution. But there is a sort of acquiescence in it. They have felt that we can't do much about it. And that's where you are. And of course, there's a lot of support. In the outside world, I would say in Europe too, there is total support for the existence of Israel and the defense of Israel, yes. But there is no enthusiasm for Israeli nuclear weapons. And I myself would be very doubtful that they are of any military use.
Do you think the U.S. government is putting pressure on the International Atomic Energy Agency and its chief not to put pressure on Israel to sign up to the NPT?
Well, it's not the IAEA's role vis-à-vis Israel to press them to join the IAEA. The IAEA carries out some inspections in Israel because Israel purchased things abroad that were conditioned upon inspection, but they don't inspect the Dimona reactor. Of course, they do not do that.
Why is that it's not happening?
Because they have not undertaken an obligation to do so. They have not undertaken an obligation not to be without nuclear weapons. I think they should. I think that you should have a zone free of weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is that the IAEA is so much focused on Iran, but there's no focus on Israel. What's going on?
No, well, there is a formal reason for it, and that is that Iran is a party to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, has promised not to have nuclear weapons, and there are suspicions abroad that they have aiming at nuclear weapons, and those suspicions have to be dispelled. In the case of Israel, they have not promised not to have nuclear weapons. They have a policy of deliberate ambiguity. They don't say no, they don't say
But
yes.
you're convinced that Israel has nuclear weapons?
Of course, everybody knows that.
And do you think Israel's nuclear weapons could trigger an arms race in the region?
Well, it might, yes.
So it's a threat to regional security?
It might trigger, but on the other hand, all the other countries are parties to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. And they assure the world that they will not go for nuclear weapons. And same with Iran, there have been suspicions, and you are now trying to allay that, to dispel the suspicions. I think the better solution would be, the long-term solution, I should say, be one in which Israel does away with its nuclear weapons. You could even have cooperation in the future. You could have a Euratom of the Middle East, in which you cooperate between each other in making peaceful uses of nuclear energy. That would entail also some arrangements regarding enrichment and reprocessing, the installations which produce material for bombs. But it's longer term. Today we are concerned with the negotiation between the P5+1 and Iran, and I think it's very important that that succeed, because